Hi, my name is Trevor Hales. We're here at Elite Automotive, and I'm going to show you a few things on the Porsche Targa 4S. I'm going to show you how to access your coolant fill cap. I'm going to show you how to access your oil fill cap. I'm also going to show you how to check your oil electronically, and let's begin. So this is the vehicle. This is the Porsche Targa 4S. It was a throwback to an original that they created way back in the day. What makes it special is the top. This is what makes everything you do on it a little bit more difficult, but very possible. First thing we're going to do before we do any service in your vehicle is we put protective equipment on the vehicle. I'm going to open the door here, and I'm going to place this over the steering wheel, and this will protect it from any nicks or scratches since the steering wheel is made of leather. So, I'm also going to put a seat cover to protect the leather of the seat. Also put a floor mat down to make sure that your carpet doesn't get dirty. These are all of the steps that Elite Automotive takes to ensure your vehicle is protected for any reason while we work on it. I'm now going to step in the vehicle. Now what you want to do is you're going to want to go ahead and turn the vehicle on. As long as you have the key in the vehicle where it's near the steering column, then you'll be able to turn the ignition switch once and then twice. And when you'll get to, this will turn the vehicle on, then you're going to want to open up the actual convertible top. Now this button right here opens up the boot lid, whereas this one opens up. Now you'll have to lift and hold, and that will allow the top to come up and back into service mode. And once you do that, you'll have access to both your oil fill and your coolant fill caps. Like that. And before I do anything further, we have protective covers that will go over both the fenders. We also have protective plastic that will go over the cargo area. Now this is the recommended way to do this because it protects any accidental spillage of oil, and it'll just go straight on that plastic and it won't go anywhere else. I do recommend turning the headlights off. That'll save your battery. I do not recommend turning the car off since the top is in a medium status. It's not fully closed or fully open, so I do not recommend turning it off. But if you turn the headlights off, it won't kill the battery. So if you come over here, these operate properly. Do make sure that your car is cool before you take this off. Reason being is it will splash everywhere, and there's only so much you can protect in the car, and then you'll have to clean up coolant. The next part is I'm going to show you how to access the oil filter. Now, the reason this is on here is because I'm going to have to access the oil filter. Now, I'm not actually going to take the oil filter off, but I will show you how to access it. On almost every Porsche, you'll have this little intake boot right here, and you'll have to take this plastic out. You do not have to remove it from this point. Once you do that, there are little rubber grommets and little pins that go into them. You can pop that up from each one, and you have to do that on both sides. Make sure you get a firm click. You can feel each one of them. Now you'll pull this up and make sure each of the pins are loose. Once you do that, you can then work this rubber down very carefully so that you don't break anything, and you have this out. You can lay that to the side, and then what you can get access to is the fans. Each one of these fans you pull up towards the rear and you pull back very carefully. Now make sure your hand is here so that you don't hit the paint of the vehicle. And once you do that, you can now unplug this fan. What you'll notice is the oil filter sits right here in this section. So this oil filter, you'll need a shallow 36 millimeter oil filter socket. And I'll show you that in a second. The other important thing I want you to know is although you don't have to take this off to have access to the oil filter, I do recommend it. The reason being, once you take this off and put this to the side, just like so, you have more room to get to this. I do recommend covering this with plastic. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Take a piece of plastic, it doesn't have to be anything special, and you'll lay this over the intake boot that's down here. What that will allow you to do is to keep from getting any oil, contaminants, or anything else to drop down the intake into the engine. This will also allow a little extra protection. Now when you pull this out, it is very difficult to clean in that area, so what you're going to want to do is put rags down here, and you're going to want to do this last. Some people will replace the oil filter before they drain the oil. I do not recommend this. I recommend to drain the oil first. That way as much of the oil comes out of the oil filter housing before you remove the oil filter. It'll create less of a mess and less work for you. Draining the oil is simply like any other vehicle. It has a drain plug on the bottom, so put it on a lift it up, drain the oil, let it drop. To drain the oil faster and more completely, do take the oil cap off first. And that will allow airflow to come through the engine, and the oil will drain more completely and more fully, and also more oil will come out of that oil filter housing, which will create less mess in the engine bay for that purpose. Some special things to note: when you're putting this back in, this section right here, this boot, you have to work it, but make sure that you put this out first. So what I mean by that is when you're putting this through, you want to put it from the back end and work this piece of plastic through. That way you do not break it. And once you push that all the way through, you can then work the rubber until you get it down. And that way you don't break anything and the customer's happy. I'm also going to show you how to check your oil level electronically. This vehicle, much like many other European vehicles, does not have a dipstick. For that purpose, you have to check it inside the vehicle. And once you're in the vehicle, you can go ahead and see that we have some steering wheel option buttons. So these are going to be entertainment, radio, phone, things like that. On the right side, we do have the dashboard menu buttons. You have a back button. Go ahead and move your back button all the way until you see one of the menu options such as G-force, vehicle, audio, phone, navigation, and trip. And what you want to go to is vehicle. Once you go to vehicle, I'm going to remove this cover simply to show the dashboard a little more clearly, and I will put it back once we do this. This actual toggle will allow you to switch back and forth between the various menu options. Once you get it to vehicle, you're going to depress it once, and you'll get a new list of options including info, oil measurement, limits, settings. You'll go to oil measurement, and it will show you the level of the oil is at currently, and you're going to want it to be in green. So this is a little bit higher than we expect it to be, so we're going to remove a little bit of oil, and you can do that by the outline video we have here. That concludes all of the things we're going to teach you on the Targa 4S today. So, as I was saying before, there's a special socket needed to do this job. It is a 36 millimeter, and you can get, this one I have is currently from Lyle, and you can get it as part number 13300, and it's a set of a couple of them. And as I was saying before with the oil filter cap, to clarify a little bit better, what you want to do is you want to screw it to a point where it'll allow air past into the oil filter housing. That will allow oil to drain more completely into the oil pan, and then once you have it in the air and remove the drain plug, more oil will come out and it'll create a more complete oil change. It'll also create less mess when you take the cap out after you get done draining the oil and you put the drain plug on and torque it. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked, hit like or subscribe. All links to websites including Facebook and our actual website will be below, and stay tuned for more videos. Thanks.